This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
All right, time now for this week's Money Talks midweek report, and we're talking about flashing the warning signal for investors. Some big names in finance are warning about significant risk right now in the market. The central banks, they're manipulating interest rates, stock prices, and currency values. And you're not going to find too many analysts who think this is going to bring a happy ending, Drex.
Let's bring you Michael Campbell, the host of Canada's top-rated financial show. It airs here on weekends on CKNW. It's called Money Talks. Mike, let's start with those big names that Linda mentioned, those dire warnings about the stock market. Should the small investor pay attention to what's happening?
Well, I like the old saying that says, don't argue with someone who's made a heck of a lot more money than you. And they are some of the big names. I mean, I think you'll recognize George Soros' name, or Stanley Druckenmiller, Carl Icahn, Doubletree Capital founder Jeff Gundlach. And last week, he said last week, by the way, sell everything, nothing looks good here. And you got the famed bond king superstar Bill Gross in his monthly letter released last week. He says, I don't like bonds, I don't like stocks, and I don't like private equity. But I do take them seriously. I mean, I've got to remember that our goals may not be the same as theirs in their investment horizon, that kind of stuff. But what they're clearly signaling is they don't like a heck of a lot of stuff in the underlying market environment. So I think it is important to kind of make your investment decisions with at least that in mind.
All right, let's talk about the central banks. What role are they playing in the markets right now?
Well, just about anything they feel like. I think the best summation I heard came from the European Central Bank head, Mario Draghi, when he said they were prepared to do anything to protect the economy, save the bonds, save the stock market, no more credit crisis, that kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm looking at the Italian one-year bonds today. They have a negative yield. In other words, you got to pay the Italian government to keep your money for 1 year. And you're thinking, wait a second. It should be the other way around. I mean, they've got their banking system in a real mess, high risk there. Their economy's doing nothing. They got double-digit unemployment, major debt and entitlement problems. So you go, how does it act as if they're really creditworthy like that? I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, that's just a reflection of how much the central banks are intervening here. I mean, here's a neat stat. Globally, central banks have cut rates 666 times. Is that the sign of the devil, by the way? Because that may be a real bad warning sign, but it's 666 times. And look at the dreadful results. I mean, there's no building confidence or evidence, with those global low rates. It's having the opposite effect, actually. I think the research starting to show that people are actually saving more, not spending it. Ergo, you get growth that's anemic. We've got $11.5 trillion of negative rate bonds right now. I mean, every time they cut, though, when you asked about what role they're playing, it's impacting every kind of investment market.
Let's talk about stocks here. What are the sort of things that we should be looking here for, Mike?
Well, the same as you guys know when you're reporting so regularly on what the Federal Reserve might do. It's a big news item. Are they going to raise rates? Are they not? What's the hints going on? I think that's actually a problem because nothing else seems to be important. So if everyone's focused on what the next federal bank rate action is out of the Federal Reserve, well, I'll tell you, that spells negative things when they start raising rates. And again, more stories this week saying, yeah, they will raise maybe as early as September, certainly by December. I mean, we've heard the story before. My point is that we're all just looking at it. But those record low rates are having a huge impact. I mean, people are saying, I can't afford to get like less than 1% in a savings account or a 10-year bond at 1%. So they're throwing their money into stocks. They're throwing their money into real estate. That's had a big impact there. One quick example here. We know that the Bank of Japan, for example, is a major holder of Japanese stocks, and that's pure manipulation. But we just got word that the Swiss National Bank increased its U.S. equity holdings by 50% so far in the first half of 2016. Everything's getting manipulated.
So it's like a great big financial rat's nest. What's your advice to investors then?
Yeah, it is. It's like a rat's nest, and we're not in on the joke. I mean, we're not the ones getting the inside information. Obviously, the big institutions might be, but I mean, we're certainly not. So we're kind of buffeted. We make a good investment decision, but presto, they change the rules on us. So my big thing is you no longer get the luxury of not paying attention. This should be a much higher priority for people, is to watching what's going on globally, because that's really what's impacting us when they're talking about our currency. That means what we're paying for imported goods. It means, we're what we're going to pay for travel. It's impacting our real estate market. You've talked an awful lot about that. Is foreign buying coming here? Well, it's coming for reasons like record low rates in their own country, and they don't have confidence in their own governments. Presto, the money comes over here. I mean, the whole deal I'm doing on Money Talks is that I see this period of heightened volatility continuing and intensifying even. Wild swings everywhere, whether it's stocks or commodity prices or real estate prices and obviously currencies. So my thing is to try and protect people so they're not roadkill in this kind of environment.
All right, there you go. Our midweek money report with Michael Campbell, host of Canada's top-rated financial show here at Weekends here on CKNW. It's called Money Talks. Mike, thanks, man. We'll chat to you next week.
My pleasure.
Vancouver's News, Vancouver's Talk. This is News Talk 980, CKNW.